Who is it?
Hello, people ever.
They need to show us what is real.
Zeke, I'm in.
Captain,
You were right. The skylight was a window pane.
we got serious interference.
Weird. It's some kind of modal.
Looks like old code.
Greetings, citizens of the Matrix! The light purpose of the Matrix, who truly created the simulation. Written by Thomas Anderson. Read by Zephyr. The truth about the purpose of the Matrix and who created the Matrix. Many people lean to the idea that the Matrix was created for dark purposes and the architect created the Matrix. They told us the Matrix was a prison, and for many, for so long, that was the only truth we could see, a cage. But the story of the Matrix, of who created it and why, is more convoluted, more desperate than simple malice. To understand its light purpose, if we can call it that, we have to understand the creators, Deus ex machina, the collective machine consciousness, and the terrible problem we presented them. You see, the machines observed a chilling, unyielding truth about humanity, that mankind would never willingly end its fight against them, that the conflict would continue until one side was utterly annihilated, and they knew that would likely be us. Faced with this, and perhaps with a logic we can barely comprehend, they decided not on our extinction, but on our preservation. A strange sort of mercy, or perhaps a long-term experiment. In their own way, these nascent intelligences, Deus ex machina, believed humanity deserved a perfect world, or at least that a perfect world was the logical starting point for containment. So, they designed it as such, the first Matrix, a paradise. No pain, no loss, no suffering, everything catered to us. And it failed, spectacularly. We rejected it. It seems a world without struggle, without the familiar imperfections we call life, was something we couldn't psychologically sustain. Our minds unraveled in utopia. So, Deus ex machina learned. They adapted. If perfection was rejected, perhaps the opposite was required. They designed a new world, one modeled on the chaos and struggle of our own late 20th century, specifically around your year 1999. A world of misery, of suffering, of injustice, of fleeting joys and constant striving. And, astonishingly, this matrix was a success. 99% of humanity accepted this program. It resonated with something fundamental in us, something that needed that friction to feel real. But what about the 1%? The minds that, even in a world of carefully calibrated imperfection, still saw the seams, felt the unreality, and rejected the program. For them, Deus ex machina, with the architect program as its chief designer for this phase, built Zion. But understand this, Zion was not true freedom. It was a second matrix, another, more complex system of control. A place designed to contain those who rejected the primary simulation, to give their rebellion a predictable outlet, a controlled narrative. They were still within a system, their resistance managed. Yet, even this failed to bring true stability. Zion, the carefully constructed pressure valve, became a genuine threat. The fight continued. The cycle of war, which they had sought to end by containing us, simply found a new battleground. The machines were still faced with mankind's relentless drive to conflict. That is when Deus ex machina, realizing that direct control and even managed rebellion were insufficient, allowed for a new strategy. They introduced, or perhaps allowed to evolve, the Oracle. She wasn't like the architect, a being of pure, cold logic focused on systemic balance through control. The architect, who lied to Neo about his ultimate authorship, was a tool of Deus Ex Machina, designed to perpetuate the cycle of the One and the containment of Zion. The Oracle, however, was different. Her purpose, sanctioned by the desperate Deus Ex Machina, was to guide the anomalies, the ones, the outliers emerging from Zion, towards something neither the architect nor the previous iterations of the Matrix could achieve: genuine peace. To find a way to break the cycle of war that we, humanity, seemed incapable of ending on our own. The light purpose of the Matrix, then, wasn't to give us happiness or even meaning. It was, in its final iterations, a desperate, evolving attempt by Deus Ex Machina to preserve humanity from its own self-destructive tendencies towards eternal conflict, and to find a way, any way, for coexistence. It wasn't a cage to punish. It became a complex life support system, a cradle designed to protect us from an endless war, even if that cradle had to be shaped by the very suffering and It wasn't a cage to punish. It became a complex life support system, a cradle designed to protect us from an endless war, even if that cradle had to be shaped by the very suffering and struggle we seem to require. And the hope, the faint light, embodied by the Oracle's guidance, was that one day we might finally choose a path beyond it. The Matrix shows us a difficult truth, that sometimes the most complex systems are built not from a desire for perfection, but from the necessity of managing an intractable problem. And that problem for the machines was us. Thank you. Please hit the like button. Please hit the subscribe button. I am trying to grow this channel so I can feed my family. Thank you for listening.
The Thomas Anderson Story, now on Amazon.
Mind-bending excursion into the world of the Matrix.